Actually, I had two separate experiences, 4 years apart. I have two daughters. My first daughter, who's 9, was a complete surprise. There was no high risk pregnancy of any kind. She was born at 24 weeks. So she was a micro preemie and she was under 2 pounds. She had brain bleeds, bilateral grade 3, grade 4 brain bleeds, and she had to have a PDA ligation. But after that, she was really able to kind of grow and get stronger and rely less and less on any interventions. And she came home on her due date. 4 years later, her little sister joined us, and she was also a preemie, but a little bit bigger. She was a 30-weeker, a little bit older. But unfortunately, her journey was filled with many more complications. She was in the hospital for less time, but did encounter that PDA as well. So the girls have twin scars on their back. At about a year and a half old, she was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. So we have her, followed for a lot of reasons and to help her with her development that is pretty delayed. What I think went well was how the all of the medical professionals handled being able to communicate with us through helping educate us and understand what all the machines meant and what they did and what their purposes were for and how we could monitor them when we were visiting. And I really felt like we had the freedom or the permission, if that makes sense, to always voice if we had a concern or wanted to ask a question. It never felt like we couldn't say something or speak up. And that started this great kind of foundation of understanding and communication, which carried forward in both of our experiences. The challenge I felt was sometimes navigating the different teams because we were there for such a long time. When there would be a switch from somebody that had become familiar with not only the parent and their demeanor, but also the baby who really is just going to communicate through how they're behaving. That time of that switch would always feel uncertain on top of all of the other things. I mean, there's so much that's not in your control. I'm not really talking about, that daily nurse shifts change that happens every 12 hours. I just more so mean sometimes there were teams specifically assigned, for a duration of a week or two, and then that would have to switch. So that would be hard sometimes. Being part of your child's care team while they are in the hospital then equips you for when it's going to be all on you when you're home. Once we understood when rounds were and when we might be able to see the medical team, we would make it a priority to be there as many times as we could. If they knew we weren't going to be around in the morning when rounds typically were, they were like, okay, we'll wait until you're going to be here. We have a second round that we're going to do in the afternoon. If they were right outside the door, they'd invite us to come be a part of that huddle, listen to everybody's updates. They'd ask us what we thought if it was time to maybe consider weaning off of a certain medication. It really did equip me to know what it meant to be an advocate for my daughters and to show them how they can eventually be advocates for themselves. The Family Advisory Council is a group of parents who have had different experiences across, the Children's Hospital and the NICU, who are able to listen in on different initiatives that are going on in the hospital and provide feedback from the parent and patient perspective, where our feedback is really taken into account so that we can help the next parent that's going to be there at the hospital with their child have an even better, more included experience, and be able to feel just as heard as we feel on the council.